Okay, so this is a review of my Trangia cook set. This is the larger model, designated as 25, and then they have different suffixes, but this is the larger of the two. This is the one which is 8.5 across, 8.5 inches that is. I've owned this for 12 years. I've probably cooked 300 meals on it, my wife and I, and we've used it throughout Europe and throughout the United States. We've never used it as a backpacking stove. It's always been like a family camping stove or a car camping stove, a day hiking stove, that sort of thing. In my opinion, it's far too heavy to be considered a backpacking stove for, let's say, if you're gonna go backpacking for 2 miles, sleep out in the backcountry and come 2 miles back to your car, that's one thing. But if you're gonna do 10 plus miles a day like we do, then this is far too heavy, in my opinion. So I'll just take you through it. In general, I would say this is like an A- type stove. It's not perfect. There are things I would change and improve if I were the manufacturer. There are things I've changed and improved myself. But I think this is a great stove. If it got destroyed tomorrow, I would buy another one. In fact, I just recently did, because I'm going to be sending this off to one of the subscribers here on the channel. So yeah, let me just take you through it, and maybe it's helpful for you. So first thing is this strap. I don't like this strap. I never have. A wise man once said, those who are faithful with little are faithful with much. And this something as seemingly small as a strap actually made me really wonder if this was well thought out. So it has this short little tail. It has this little thing here, which is supposed to capture the tail. But like, I mean, how? I mean, it's like so loose. This comes out. It just makes no sense to me. This clasp is special. It says Trangia on it, which as a manufacturing engineer says to me that's expensive. This whole thing is sort of, let's say, more robust than it needs to be, heavier than it needs to be, more cumbersome. It also in the instructions said, always put this on the bottom side, never up here where it'll scratch the top. And I just think, well, why do you have something on the product that'll damage it? But I also never really liked trying to thread these things back through here. Sometimes it would get stuck. Sometimes I'd do it the wrong way and the clasp would end up here and start scratching it. So I've not used this in years. I normally just use a big thick rubber band and call it a day. But that's the backpacker in me, and I try and think light and simplistically. Next is the pan, and I will say that probably 95% of the meals we've made are with the pan, not with the bowls. We do eggs, we do steak, a bunch of other things I can't think of right now. We do not use the bowls very much, so this has seen the most amount of use. This top painted surface used to look something like that. It didn't last long, and at some point I just sanded it all away because I didn't like how it was chipped and inconsistently black and silver. You can also see that this thing has not kept its flat shape. I don't know how much of that is normal wear and tear and how much of that is maybe the one time that we spilled some alcohol and overheated the inside of the thing. I'm not sure, but it didn't hold up that long. But it also doesn't need to. It's just an aesthetic thing, and I'm pretty practical in that regard. So the non-stick side, basically right here, a little chip came out a long time ago, right when we first got it, which was a bummer, but it didn't spread like I thought it would, and it's never really caused us trouble. You can see here it's worn through from all the years of spinning, and there's a couple other little chips. So yeah, it's not ideal. It's not like new, but after 12 years, I also can't criticize it too much. Recently, we had an epiphany, and we started lining the pan with tin foil. So we'll just bring these little squares with us, and you may have seen one of my other videos. We'll do something like that. I'm not going to do a really thorough job, but we basically line it like that. It's really nice because all the oils and fats get collected in, and then you just do that and throw it away. In the winter months or cooler months, you know, most of the campgrounds that we go to, the backcountry, they don't have hot, soapy water, and they also don't want you washing your dishes. So you're always trying to wash dishes in, you know, cold water, and it's just impossible with butter and fat and oil and all those sorts of things. So yeah, so line it with some tin foil. It's a really good solution. It makes cleanup a cinch, and then it really doesn't even matter if this is nonstick. We do use this nonstick part for pancakes. Even with aluminum foil, the pancakes seem to stick, so it's still nice to have the nonstick. Okay, next thing, this little multi-use item. I don't like it. It's supposed to be a lid for the bowls. This notch is so that you can still get the pot lifter handle thing in there. It's supposed to be a strainer for pasta, and it's supposed to be a cutting board. I don't think it does any of those things that well. It doesn't keep its flat shape, and it has all of these abnormal surfaces, so as a cutting board, I don't think it's that great. Okay, as a lid, you can increase a little bit of efficiency, but for me, efficiency doesn't matter that much on a car camping trip because you have all your fuel in the car. If this were a backpacking item, then efficiency of the stove is really important. Also, like, you can always just put this on top of the bowls as a lid. So yeah, not a big fan, don't really use it much. Don't think it adds a lot of value, but maybe it does for somebody else. All right, the kettle. We used this a lot for boiling water. Last year on our trip, we used it 30 straight days for boiling water. This year, we didn't even bring it. On our national park trip, I used this instead, which I'll show in another video. It was far more efficient and faster, and it could boil more water. And so we completely left this behind. You may notice that the silicone rubber stuff is missing from here. That's really not Trangia's fault. I once hung this over the fire to boil some water, and the fire basically burned the edge of this, so I just cut it off. One thing is this is not a tight fit. It's not meant to be a tight fit, so as you pour it, you kind of always have to put a finger there and lift. Otherwise, the lid will come off on you. But that's by design, and not really anything to be criticized, I would say. It's just a design choice. Inside the pot goes the lifter, which has held up fine. I have modified it a little bit because these things had gotten a little wobbly, so it was loose, but it works really good. It's good design, no complaints on the lifter. And this is the reason that this has this notch so that that can go over there like that, in case you were wondering. So the lifter has held up just fine over the years. The burner, I hate. I hate that it's brass. I hate that it's heavy. I hate that this seal is not reliable enough that you can't trust leaving alcohol in here and then throwing this whole thing in your backpack. I've had them leak several times, and it's just lost my trust. And one of the great benefits of the Trangia burner, because of this lid, like if this lid didn't, you could basically throw this lid away, because the purpose of this lid is so that you can go without a separate container of alcohol. You can just go out with this. But if you can't trust this lid, then you get to your destination and you're out of alcohol. So this basically, I can't trust, it adds weight. I don't like it. But without the lid, this simmer ring doesn't stay on there either. So you end up finding yourself bringing it anyway. So the simmer ring might serve an important function for some people. It doesn't for me. The purpose of the simmer ring is so that you can open this up and you can put it on, and it blocks some of the holes, and so it's like turning your stove from high to low. I understand that some people may be cooking things that are more gourmet than what I'm cooking. I have never really needed a simmer function. So yeah, and then when you close this, it becomes a snuffer. So when this thing is in the Trangia, you can throw it in there and it snuffs it. Obviously, one challenge is that if you have this on here like that, this thing is scalding hot, so you can't pick it up, close it, and then snuff it, which means you're forced to blow out the Trangia burner, which is quite a bit more difficult than you'd think. When you have a pool of alcohol sitting here, it's very hard to blow it out. In fact, my wife basically can't do it, and it's even sort of a challenge for me as well. That's why I'm a big fan of Kojin burners by Trail Designs. Inside they have a special fleece-like material, and these things are a cinch to blow out. My kids can do it, and that's exactly why on our recent trip I brought this adapter ring that this can fit into, and I did 55 days of cooking with this Kojin stove, and I left this thing behind. Now, credit where credit's due, this thing is like 70 or 80 years old is when they invented that. And this thing is like 5 years old or something like that. So I'm not beating up on Trangia. I'm not criticizing what this burner once was. I just think that nowadays, This thing weighs like 145 grams. It literally weighs 10 times what this weighs, and it doesn't work as good. And you lose the simmer function with this, admittedly, but in every other way, this is better. So not a big fan, and that's what this project is all about. As you may have seen on my channel, I'm working with Trail Designs to basically come up with a big version of a big version of this to fit the Trangia. Okay, so next is the bowls. You get a sort of a medium and a large. The medium is 6.5 inches across. The large is 7. I think these are unnecessary. First of all, these don't need to be nonstick. The pan needs to be nonstick. I mean, that's a real advantage. These have almost no advantage being nonstick. I mean, soups don't tend to burn at the bottom. I guess a chili could, you know, but you're paying extra for this, and I really don't think you need it. I also don't think you need 2. You can only cook with 1 at a time, and the difference between these is so small. I mean, we're talking about 1 inch difference in diameter. So we've not used a lot of these. I suppose if you are just an absolute fiend for pasta, then maybe you love these things, and I'm really happy for you. But for me, really haven't gotten much use out of them. I wish I hadn't got the more expensive ones that are coated, and that's exactly why on my recent purchase, I just got normal ones. Okay, in case it's not obvious, these get picked up with the same thing like this, and this lid fits on there too. So again, when we have used these, we've also just put that right over the top. It works as a fine lid, so really don't think you need that. Okay, last thing is the quote-unquote stove itself, I guess you could say. So it's a 2-piece design. That part goes on the ground. This part goes like this and locks into place. These flip up for the pan. They flip down to hold the bowls. Fairly straightforward. I think it's a really good design. It's a windscreen. It's a holder. It's extremely sturdy. You're not going to have it knocked over as if you had like one of these little butane burners with like a tall post and it's really wobbly. I've disassembled this a few times and wire wheeled it and cleaned it because I'm kind of anal retentive sometimes. I did make the mistake once when I was refilling the burner. I was refilling it. I was kind of squirting some alcohol down in here, and I got some over here and didn't think much of it. I knew that I did it, but I thought, oh, no big deal, it'll just burn off. But that extra fuel actually caused this thing to warp a little bit. I'll see if you can tell. Now that's my fault. I mean, that's not Trangia's fault. I think that this is sufficiently robust. And also lightweight. I mean, you could make it more robust, but then it gets heavier. You could make it lighter, but then it becomes, you know, weak and fragile. And I think they've done a great job. One thing I will say is all of these are broken on mine. So basically, these 3 teeth interact with these 3 slots so that, I mean, you don't even have to. You can just set it there. But if you do that, then you can pick up this whole assembly. And sometimes we will grab this whole assembly like this and move it if we need to, if it's starting to wobble or something. So it is nice that they lock, but in my case, all 3 of these have begun to split. You can see here right at the corner, you can see like a little split that's happened on all 3. So, I mean, that's a criticism, but they still work, you know, so the criticism is pretty light. Anyway, on our recent national park trip, what we did is we basically had to take a bowl, because if you don't take a bowl, then the whole thing can't really nest because you have this hole at the bottom. So what we did is we took the larger of the 2 bowls, and then we threw the Kojin inside, the pot lifter inside, the adapter inside. Actually, in a lot of cases, we just threw the whole Evernew stove inside and threw those things in there, and then we threw the lid on. Now, we literally wouldn't have even taken the bowl. The problem is if you don't take the bowl, then you don't have this surface here, so you have this big hole at the bottom. And we threw a rubber band around that and went to town. So, yeah, that is my 12-year review of a Trangia stove setup. I hope that was helpful to somebody somewhere. And I'm going to make a few more videos, not exactly an unboxing, something a little better than an unboxing of these 2 stoves that I just bought for a recent project, because we're trying to develop a new burner for the Trangia. So take care, y'all.